So recently I've been playing some Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and it's been pretty fun, if not a little disappointing. Back when this game was randomly announced a few months ago, I was super hyped about the idea of this game. I mean, a prequel to Breath of the Wild that told the story of how the champions got KO'd in a warrior-style game. That just sounds like an awesome game a fan would make. But Nintendo thought of it first, so if you made a fan game of this concept, you should probably expect a cease and desist if you haven't got one already. What got me excited the most though is that Nintendo said that they were working closely with Koei Tecmo on the story for this game. And at that moment, I was setting myself up for failure because that story is coming from Nintendo, a company who is well known for putting gameplay over story, i.e. while the Mario games are making gamers hit the same princess since 1985. And Koei Tecmo, who, well, I actually never played a Dynasty Warrior game, but based off the core gameplay, I'm gonna assume that the story in those games aren't super important either.
I shall oppose you forever. And don't forget it, I don't believe in magic. A dike? Oh no.
Now, I'm not saying that Nintendo's philosophy is a bad philosophy. I mean, Mario's really fun for a reason. Nor am I saying that Nintendo can't occasionally crank out a good story every once in a while. But with a game that's supposed to answer some of the questions left unanswered in the original Breath of the Wild, the story was a little lackluster. That being said, Age of Calamity, despite being a mediocre entry in Breath of the Wild's universe, actually made me appreciate the story told in the original Breath of the Wild a lot more. And if you didn't know, Breath of the Wild is like my favorite game of all time. Age of Calamity helped me understand a core theme to Breath of the Wild's narrative: loss. Okay, so if you played Age of Calamity up to the part where the Age of Calamity happens, you're probably wondering how I learned to appreciate Breath of the Wild's theme of loss through Age of Calamity's narrative. And yeah, I mean, couldn't blame you for thinking that. And this is the part of the video where I'm gonna spoil the big twist of Age of Calamity. So if you care about that, just stop the video here. And yeah, I honestly don't think I need to say that because most of the people who are watching this are probably like friends and family who don't really play video games that much. And Age of Calamity's story, it turns out that it's not really a prequel to Breath of the Wild, more of a alternate timeline to the original Breath of the Wild story, since the descendants of the OG champions come back in time to save the OG champions. Now, seeing this my first time, my reaction went from this to a little more of this. And to be completely honest, the story up to this point was kind of bland and was only really held together by the player's attachment to this world and the characters from the original Breath of the Wild. But when this happens in the story, any stakes or consequences that could have happened in the narrative are completely diminished, which contrasts Breath of the Wild story that completely embraces its consequences. In the beginning of Breath of the Wild, after your 100-year nap, you wake up in a world where Ganon has pretty much already won. Sure, Zelda has been doing her best to keep him sealed for the past century, but Hyrule Castle, it's in ruins. All your friends, the champions, they're dead. Hyrule Field, infested with monsters. The world that you left is different from the world that you've just entered. And after investigating what happens in your past, you also have amnesia when you wake up. Did I mention that? That's kind of important. You understand that you can never go back to fix the mistakes you and your friends made 100 years ago. While people generally love Breath of the Wild, a common source of criticism comes from its story, and these criticisms range from how the story is told to its very lovable characters.
With proper utilization of my superior skills, I see no reason why we couldn't easily dispense with Ganon. Just a scratch.
But one criticism I remember hearing from a video review from GameXplain when this game first came out is that the game doesn't do a good job at expressing the urgency of the story because the world itself doesn't reflect the high stakes of the story. And I agree with this for a while, but after seeing the lack of stakes in Age of Calamity, I have a different take on the world in Breath of the Wild. Age of Calamity's story is very style over substance. Events happen, but nothing is added or learned until the twist, which in my opinion ends up hurting the flow of the story instead of adding to it. You know, now that I think about it, Age of Calamity's story was really just a vessel for his gameplay, which isn't an issue since it's a hack and slash game, and stories told in hack and slash games don't really make all that much sense, so the gameplay is fun. So I guess comparing Age of Calamity stories to Breath of the Wild stories is kind of unfair because they're different genres. But for the sake of argument, Breath of the Wild has a more laid-back and minimalist approach to its storytelling. And I'm not just talking about how you find out about your past by finding memories in the world, but I'm talking about the world itself. As I stated earlier, you wake up in a world where Ganon has already won, but just because the world ended doesn't mean that life ceases to exist. In the ruins of structures where lost battles took place, plants flourish and animals make new homes there. The villages and Hylian towns that were destroyed during the Calamity are replaced with new and thriving villages. Even the deceased champions are replaced with descendants that are on the path to continue the legacy of their predecessors. Okay, that's all well and good, you know, life finds a way and all that, but what does that have to do with you? You know, you got 3 stopped by Ganon and it's only the first set. Well, you know how you don't have a physical companion to help you out on your adventure? False, because the world is your companion, idiot. And I'm pretty sure a developer pointed that out. I think Neil Druckmann said it in an interview when they were marketing for this game. This new world that has blossomed acts as your greatest ally, guiding you by giving you goals to become stronger than you were before. Both by giving you literal goals to strive for in the forms of shrines, and by seeing the world itself come back to life after receiving a devastating blow. The signs of Hylian villages acts as a reminder that there are still people to protect, giving you motivation to complete your goal. And while the champions aren't around anymore, you can still help their descendants find their true potential, inspiring you to find yours. Oh, wait, the champions still appear as Force Ghosts, so I guess they're still around to help you. What was this video about again? Even though I didn't care for Age of Calamity, I still liked it for what it is, and the fact that it made me appreciate another aspect of Breath of the Wild has to count for something. And the point of this video wasn't really to compare Age of Calamity and Breath of the Wild, even though I totally did that. They're 2 different games, they just happen to be in the same franchise, which is stupid when people do that. Like, why do people compare 2 different games because they're in a separate franchise? It doesn't make any sense. Stop comparing Legend of Korra to Avatar. Like, it's not the same show. God, one is better than the other, okay? Like, we all know that, but Legend of Korra is still good, like, on its own. Oh my, why am I mad about this? The shows are old. Oh my god. I actually got legitimately mad. The reason why I wanted to make this video was just to acknowledge that I found a new meaning out of a game that I love from a game that I mildly enjoyed. And honestly, the fact that I even enjoyed Age of Calamity means that it did its job. We really should just stop hating a game or a movie or a cartoon because it wasn't what it was advertised to be. We should hate the company for that. We should just appreciate games for what they are. If they're not, you know, bad and they actually put effort behind it, we should just enjoy it for what it is. So yeah, that was, you know, the purpose of the video, I guess. Also, I should be the last person to criticize Age of Calamity because I have not beaten the game yet.